With summertime now in full swing, we have families who are beginning to go down on vacation, college students who have been partying for weeks on end now, and those office job workers who have been kept inside from 9 to 5. But with all this sun and fun-filled season comes once more a warning to be careful along the roads. Here in America, there are plenty of haunted locations to be found. However, none may be as frightening as to find yourself lost among an old winding road, alone, or so you think, with nothing more but your headlights to pierce the darkness and guide you from the ghoulish fright. Today, we shall once more be looking into 5 of the most haunted and paranormal-filled roads and streets here in the United States. The Devil's Pregnant, a location that stretches along the Missouri and Oklahoma border, all the way along until it hits Route 66. This location has a reputation, especially along roads within the affected region. Those who travel along these roads and streets often find themselves with an encounter from an infamous local resident, Spook Lights, a set of strange orbs that still do not have an indefinite explanation, although there are many stories that people have in hopes of shining some light, or perhaps in attempts to scare a relative visiting the location. Some of these stories include the orbs of light being the torch of a beheaded native, or the spirits of a couple who were never able to marry, and even the possibility of a decapitated miner still looking for his head, along with dozens of other stories. Science, however, hasn't really come up with a set-in-stone answer either, though the old swamp gas explanation is mainly the one that people fall back on. If you ever find yourself driving through the area, be sure to keep your eyes on the lookout, as your chance of having an encounter yourself is actually rather high, due to the lights coming out very frequently. In 1936, Bray Road would have its first reported sighting of a werewolf, or werewolf-like creature, spotted along the rural road. Some have reported the creature to be either a bear or Bigfoot-like, others a very tall wolf-like creature walking on 2 feet. Sightings and reports have been pouring in from the location ever since that day, and in 1987 there was even a large spike, causing hysteria among local residents of the region who feared for their own well-being. Stories and reports often have the creature being similar to that of a large wolf while on all fours, with gray hair, pointed ears, and a long snout. However, upon standing upright, as many reports have the creature doing, it stands at nearly 7 feet tall, with large muscular legs and often spotted in a hunched position. There is really no explanation for all of the sightings people have been having for over nearly a century. Some attribute this to also relating to the Michigan Dogman, a similar cryptid and/or creature who may have wandered off a little from its home, though the more grounded approach often has it being a misidentification, either being that of wolves or bears spotted in the area, though the locals remain convinced and reports still come in to this day. So if you ever find yourself along Bray Road, make sure you're not driving alone. A region known for its paranormal accounts, New Orleans is no stranger to the world of spirits. One famous one can be located within New Orleans City Park, especially along Mona Lisa Drive. Legend goes of a rich philanthropist donating the park and subsequent drive to the community, on one condition: that a statue honoring his deceased daughter Mona would be erected within the park. The story of Mona's death is rather misty, but most accounts usually involve her being a young woman who took her own life after being heartbroken. To add to her sorrow, over time people would vandalize her statue, and eventually the memorial to her life was destroyed. This seemed to do nothing more than to stir the spirit of the heartbroken Mona, as today she is said to haunt young lovers who drive down Mona Lisa Drive. Reports of a woman moaning and crying out in the park is often heard, but more frequently, those who encounter her are those young couples who wish to have a little alone time along the drive, only to be interrupted by the screams and the heart-ached wails of a disembodied person. Another rather frequent report is that these couples suddenly hear scratching or tapping against their car, as if Mona is watching and warning them to leave at once. Route A1 runs through the town of Haymansville, within the southern part of Aroostook County in Maine, and it has been a sort of death trap for years now. Now on top of all of that, the road also harbors the ghosts and spirits of the victims who lost their lives while upon this stretch of asphalt. This road is so dangerous and has caused so much damage and death that the Dick Carless song, A Tombstone Every Mile, is about this very road. With all the deaths that this stretch of road has caused over the years, it is only a matter of time before stories of ghosts and spirits would emerge. The most common report involving a young woman begging for help along the road, telling those who stopped that there was a car accident involving her and her husband. If you end up helping her, however, you will be overcome with a deep, dark chill and the woman will suddenly vanish. Story goes that a newly married couple spun off the road in the middle of the night, killing the husband instantly. The wife managed to free herself but was unable to reach help before freezing to death in the cold night. Another frequently spotted ghost is that of a small girl, who people say was killed by a semi while walking down the road. This most likely comes from the death of two girls back in 1967, both killed on the exact same day, each due to being hit by a semi-truck who did not spot them along the road. Similar to the frozen wife, the little girl is spotted asking for help, a ride home. If you help her and you approach the end of the road on either side, the little girl will disappear, as if she was never there to begin with. Regardless of the ghost, Route 2A is one of the most dangerous roads you could find yourself driving along, especially at night and during the wintertime. So if you ever find yourself driving along this road, do be as careful as you can be. Potentially one of the most haunted areas to be found around or within the Chicago region, sometimes dubbed the Stretch of Death. This section of Archer Avenue begins at Resurrection Cemetery and St. James Sage Church and finds itself snaking between forests, lakes, and several cemeteries, most in which hold terrifying stories from beyond the grave of their own. Ghostly monks are said to haunt the area around St. James Sage, sometimes known as the Monk's Tower, where you may find disembodied music and whispers echoing the location. A spirit known only as the Gray Baby lurks within the Sacred Heart Cemetery, while phantom ghost riders have been spotted across the street at nearby 95th and Ken. Though perhaps none of the supernatural tales of this region is as well known as Resurrection Mary. We touched upon similar accounts in our video on Phantom Riders, but Resurrection Mary is known throughout the region as she hitchhikes her way down Archer Avenue. Mary is described as being a young, blonde, and beautiful woman dressed in all white, often hitchhiking rides from men who are driving alone and asking them to drive her down along the road towards Resurrection Cemetery. Reports have drivers spotting her dancing along the side of the road, most nights spotted making her way down to the cemetery, over and over. Stories go that Mary was struck and killed along the road in the early 1900s, as the first known sighting dates all the way back to 1939. Mary also stands out among other spirits as she doesn't seem to shy away from human interaction. Rather, she constantly attempts to seek out people's attention. And who knows, perhaps you may be next. And there you have it, 5 of more of the most haunted roads and streets within the United States. Once more, please be careful if you find yourself along these roads, but overall, just be careful and safe driving anywhere. I hope you all enjoyed the video and topic. If you did, write down below what part was the most interesting to you, as well as if there are any haunted roads within your own town. Also, be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this topic of content. I aim for 2 videos every single week and focus on all things paranormal and supernatural. Once again, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you again soon, but until then, stay safe, and remember, stay spooky.